Hello there, and welcome to the AstroSleep channel. I am so glad you found your way here tonight. Maybe you have had a long, demanding day, filled with the noise and speed of the human world. Maybe your mind is still racing, trying to keep up with a clock that moves too fast. But here, in this quiet space we have created together, there is no rush, there is no deadline. Tonight, we are going to step out of the rapid current of human time and drift gently into a different kind of rhythm entirely. We are entering the realm of the plants. It is a kingdom of vast, ancient silence that surrounds us every day, yet we rarely stop to truly listen to it. Tonight, we will not just learn about plants, we will try to embody their stillness. We are going to explore the secret, slow-motion lives of the green world, from the deepest roots holding the earth together to the highest leaves drinking in the starlight. We will discover a world where patience is the only law, and where survival is not a battle, but a graceful, quiet dance with the sun and the rain. The world of plants operates on a time scale that is almost impossible for us to perceive when we are awake and busy. It is a slow, deliberate existence. While we rush from one moment to the next, the great trees and the humble grasses are living in a state of permanent meditation. They build themselves out of thin air and sunlight, atom by atom, in a process so silent and so perfect that it feels like magic. To enter their world is to let go of the need for speed. It is to understand that the most important things in life, growth, nourishment, and endurance, happen in the quiet moments when no one is watching. We will wander through ancient forests where trees communicate without a sound. We will witness the sleep of flowers that close their petals as the moon rises. We will float through the canopy of rainforests, drinking mist from the clouds. This journey is designed to be a sanctuary for your mind, a place where the green canopy overhead filters out the harsh lights of the city, leaving only a soft, dappled glow. If these calm, curious explorations help you unwind, I invite you to like or subscribe. It helps other sleepy souls find their way here, too. And now, there is nothing left for you to do but rest. The day is over, and your responsibilities have been set aside. I invite you to find a comfortable position, one where your body feels fully supported, as if you are sinking into the soft, welcoming earth of a mossy forest floor. Let your mind relax, your breathing slow, and your body grow light, as if gravity itself has softened. Imagine for a moment that you are no longer separate from the natural world. Visualize your body becoming heavy and grounded. Feel the weight of your legs and your back sinking into the mattress, just as deep, strong roots sink into the soil. These roots anchor you, making you feel safe, stable, and immovable. You are held by the earth, supported by the ground beneath you, and there is no need to hold yourself up any longer. Now, bring your attention to your breath. Let it become slow and rhythmic, like the wind moving gently through the branches of a willow tree. With every inhale, imagine you are drawing in peace and calm, just as a leaf draws in sunlight. With every exhale, imagine you are releasing the carbon dioxide of your worries, letting them drift away into the night air to be absorbed and transformed by the forest around you. They are no longer racing cars on a highway. They are now leaves floating down a slow-moving river, drifting, turning, sinking. The urgency of the day is fading, replaced by the ancient, steady pulse of nature. You are part of this quiet, breathing world. The forest is vast. The air is cool and fresh, and the only sound is the gentle rustling of potential dreams waiting to unfold. Let us begin our journey into the slow, silent, and wonderfully relaxing world of plants. we begin our journey into the plant kingdom by focusing on the air around us, the very atmosphere that fills your room and supports your gentle breathing. There is a vast invisible exchange happening at every moment of the day, a process that powers the entire biosphere, yet it occurs without a single whisper of sound. This is the miracle of the silent breath, the daily labor of the leaves that surrounds us in a constant protective embrace. There is a process happening on every green surface of the earth that is responsible for life as we know it. Scientists call this photosynthesis, a word that simply means putting things together with light. It is the primary engine of the natural world, a biological machine that has been running perfectly for billions of years. But unlike the engines created by human hands, which roar and vibrate and demand attention, this engine operates in total, absolute silence. It is happening on the grass blade outside your window, in the leaves of the oak tree down the street, and in the vast canopy of the rainforests thousands of miles away. In this very moment, countless trillions of microscopic factories are humming with activity, yet the only sound we hear is the wind. It reminds us that true power does not need to be loud, and that the most essential work in the universe often happens in the quietest of ways. Deep within the structure of every single leaf, there are tiny openings that act as gateways to the sky. These microscopic pores are called stomata, a name derived from the ancient Greek word for mouth. These tiny mouths are scattered across the surface of the leaf, usually on the underside, hidden from the direct glare of the sun. When the conditions are right, they gently swell and open, allowing the leaf to inhale carbon dioxide from the air. It is a breath as rhythmic and necessary as your own, but it is a breath that takes place on a cellular level, a silent inhalation that cleanses the atmosphere. This opening and closing is a delicate dance, regulated by the pressure of water within the cells, a movement so subtle that it escapes our notice entirely. Yet it is the mechanism that allows the earth to breathe. As we visualize this process, we can imagine the surface of a leaf not as a flat, static object, but as a bustling landscape of open doors. Imagine millions of tiny, invisible gates opening wide to welcome the air, like the windows of a great green cathedral opening to the morning breeze. The leaf is a sanctuary that invites the atmosphere in, offering a space where the chaotic gases of the world can be transformed into something structured and sweet. It is a vision of hospitality on a molecular scale, where the plant offers its own body as a vessel for transformation. In this quiet opening, we see a profound lesson in receptivity, teaching us that in order to create something new, we must first be open to the world around us, breathing it in with patience and grace. There is a specific molecule inside the leaf that acts as the trap for starlight. This pigment is called chlorophyll, and it is the substance that gives the plant world its vibrant green color. Its sole purpose is to capture photons, the tiny packets of energy that have traveled nearly 93 million miles from the sun to reach the Earth. When a photon strikes a chlorophyll molecule, its energy is instantly absorbed and used to excite an electron, starting a chain reaction that will eventually store that energy as food. This happens in a fraction of a second, a fleeting moment where cosmic energy meets earthly matter. If we slow this moment down in our minds, we can see the leaf as a master artist, painting with light. The sun pours its golden energy down upon the earth, a relentless stream of fire and heat. The leaf catches this fire, but it does not burn. Instead, it gently cradles the light, cooling it, taming it, and weaving it into the very fabric of life. It is like catching a falling star and turning it into a cool, refreshing drop of nectar. The fierce energy of a nuclear furnace millions of miles away is softened and transmuted into the green peace of a garden. In this interaction, we are reminded that even the most intense energies can be soothed and transformed if they are met with the right kind of gentle reception. Inside the cells of the leaf, a miraculous separation is taking place involving water. The energy capturing by the chlorophyll is used to split water molecules apart, separating the hydrogen from the oxygen. This is a feat of chemistry that requires immense precision, breaking the strong bonds that hold water together. The plant keeps the hydrogen to build sugars, but it has no need for the oxygen. And so, it releases it back into the world. This is the origin of the air we breathe. Every breath you take is a gift given freely by a plant that was busy splitting water in the silence of the day. Imagine this process as a silent fountain, bubbling up from the green ocean of the forest. The roots draw water from the deep, cool earth, pulling it up through the dark trunk and out into the delicate veins of the leaf. There, in the presence of light, the water is broken open and the oxygen is released like a flock of invisible birds taking flight. It drifts out through the stomata, joining the winds, flowing over the hills, and eventually finding its way to you. You are inhaling the exhale of the forest. There is a continuous, intimate loop between your lungs and the leaves of the trees, a circle of reciprocity that binds you to the natural world. We are never truly alone, for we are constantly sharing our breath with the quiet, green, living things that surround us. There is a manufacturing process occurring in the stroma of the chloroplasts, known as the Calvin cycle. This is the stage where the energy from the sun, now stored in chemical bonds, is used to turn carbon dioxide into glucose. It is a cycle of construction, where the plant takes the thin, intangible air and turns it into solid sugar. This sugar will become the wood of the tree, the flesh of the fruit, and the energy that fuels the growth of roots. It is the process of making matter out of emptiness, of spinning the invisible wind into the solid trunks of the redwoods. We can visualize this as a kind of silent weaving. The plant sits at its loom, pulling threads of carbon from the air and threads of light from the sun. With infinite patience, it weaves them together, crossing over and under, creating the sweet, solid tapestry of life. It creates the apple, the berry, the strong branch, and the delicate flower, all spun from the simple, invisible ingredients of air and light. It is a kind of magic that we have become too accustomed to, the alchemy of turning the intangible into the tangible. It teaches us that with enough time and patience, even the most insubstantial dreams can be woven into reality, layer by layer, in the quiet workshop of the soul. There is a rhythm to this breath that follows the movement of the sun. During the day, the plants are active, opening their pores and drinking in the light. But at night, when the sun dips below the horizon and the world grows dark, the process changes. Most plants close their stomata to conserve water, resting from the labor of the day. The frantic production of sugar slows down and stops. The forest enters a state of metabolic rest, a period of conservation and waiting. Just as we must sleep to restore our minds, the plants must rest from their work of harvesting the sun. In the darkness, the forest breathes differently. It is a time of stillness, where the focus shifts from gathering energy to maintaining life. The trees stand like silent sentinels under the stars, their leaves relaxed, their systems powered down to a slow, steady hum. It is a comfort to know that even the trees, which seem so tireless and strong, they follow the celestial rhythm of the earth, obeying the command of the sunset to slow down. In their nightly pause, we see the wisdom of the cycle. Nothing in nature blooms all year, and nothing works without rest. The pause is just as important as the action, and the darkness is just as necessary as the light. There is a vast interconnected scale to this silent breath that covers the entire planet. If we could pull back and view the Earth from space, we would see the green pulse of the seasons. We would see the northern hemisphere greening in the spring as billions of leaves unfurl and begin their work, inhaling vast amounts of carbon dioxide. We would see the slow browning of autumn as the leaves fall and the breath pauses. This creates a literal heartbeat in the atmosphere, a rise and fall of gases that tracks the waking and sleeping of the world's forests. Imagine yourself floating high above the earth. It is not a chaotic movement, but a coordinated, graceful swell. The entire planet is like a single living organism, breathing in and breathing out over the course of a year. The great boreal forests of the north, the steaming jungles of the equator, and the temperate woodlands of the south are all lungs in this planetary body. They work in unison without any central command, driven only by the light of the sun and the turning of the seasons. It is a vision of perfect cooperation, a global harmony that sustains us all. Resting in this knowledge, you can feel that you are a small, protected part of this great, breathing whole, safe within the rhythm of the world. There is a particular serenity found in the presence of old-growth forests, where this process has continued uninterrupted for centuries. It is richer, cleaner, and filled with the specialized organic compounds that trees release to protect themselves and communicate. The Japanese call the practice of walking in these forests Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing. It is the recognition that simply being in the atmosphere of these silent breathers can lower our heart rate, reduce our stress, and bring a profound sense of peace. Picture yourself walking into such a forest now. The light is dim and green, filtered through layers of translucent leaves. The air is cool and smells of pine needles, damp earth, and the sweetness of oxygen. With every step, you are walking through a cloud of invisible healing. The trees are towering above you, their trunks like massive pillars of a temple, their canopy a stained glass roof of living emerald. They do not judge you. They do not ask anything of you. They simply breathe, and in their breathing, they create a space where you can just be. The silence here is not empty. It is full of life, full of the slow, steady work of existence. You can lean against the rough bark of a cedar tree and feel its solidity, a living anchor that has held its ground for hundreds of years. There is a final comforting thought about the persistence of this silent breath. It happens whether we are awake or asleep, whether we are happy or sad, whether we are successful or struggling. The plants do not care about our human worries. They simply continue their work day after day, turning light into life, keeping the air breathable, holding the soil in place. They are the faithful guardians of the biosphere, the silent watchers who ensure that when you wake up tomorrow, the world will still be there, fresh and waiting for you. This reliability is a lullaby in itself. You can let go of your own need to control, your own need to keep the world spinning. You can relinquish that burden to the grass and the trees. They have it under control. They have been doing this long before we arrived, and they will continue long after we are gone. In the care of the plants, the world is stable. The oxygen is being made. The carbon is being stored. The sugar is being spun. All of this is happening in the dark, in the quiet, while you drift towards sleep. You are free to close your eyes and join the rhythm of the earth, sinking into the deep, restorative pause that nature offers to all her children. We have explored the sunlit world of the leaves, where the air is light and the wind is free. Now, let us gently descend. We drift down past the sturdy branches, down past the rough protective bark of the trunk, and sink into the cool, dark earth beneath the forest floor. Here, hidden away from the sun and the stars, lies a secret kingdom that is just as vital and just as beautiful as the world above. It is a realm of eternal twilight, smelling of rich soil, damp moss, and ancient stones. This is the home of the Wood Wide Web, a vast silent network that connects the forest into a single breathing community. Beneath every step you take in a forest, there is a complex living infrastructure known as the mycorrhizal network. The word mycorrhiza comes from the Greek words for fungus and root, describing a partnership that has existed for millions of years. It is a symbiotic relationship where tiny, thread-like fungi interact with the roots of the trees. While the trees reach up for the light, these fungi reach out through the soil, exploring the microscopic spaces between grains of sand and clay. It is a perfect marriage of two different life forms, united by a shared need to survive and flourish in the quiet dark. If you could magically dissolve the soil and see only the biological structures, you would see a breathtaking tapestry of white lace. The fungal threads, called hyphae, are incredibly fine, much thinner than a human hair, and they weave through the earth in an intricate, endless pattern. They wrap around the tree roots like a gentle, fuzzy blanket, extending the tree's reach far beyond what it could achieve alone. It looks like a subterranean galaxy, a web of glowing connections that mirrors the complexity of the neural networks in the human brain. In this delicate weaving, we see that the foundation of life is not rigid stone, but a soft, flexible web of relationships holding the earth together with millions of tiny, fragile hands. There is a quiet trade happening in this darkness, a commerce based on generosity rather than greed. The fungi cannot produce their own food because they live underground, away from the sun. The trees, however, are factories of sugar, crafted high in the canopy through the miracle of photosynthesis. And so a deal is struck. The tree sends its excess sugar down through its trunk, into its roots, and offers it to the fungi. In return, the fungi use their vast network to gather water and rare nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen from the soil, delivering them directly to the tree. It is a silent exchange of gifts, a flowing river of nourishment that ensures both parties are fed. Imagine this exchange as a slow, steady pulse of energy moving through the ground. The sugar flows down like liquid sunlight, bringing the warmth of the day into the cold earth. The water and minerals flow up like a cool, refreshing draft, bringing the stability of the stone into the swaying branches. There is no hoarding here, only a continuous cycle of giving and receiving. It reminds us that in a truly healthy community, resources flow to where they are needed, and survival is a collaborative act. We can rest in the thought that beneath the surface, nature is not a war, but a vast cooperative dinner table where everyone is fed. But this network does something even more profound than simple trading. It allows the trees to communicate. Scientists have discovered that trees can send chemical signals through the fungal network to their neighbors. If a tree is attacked by insects or disease, it can send a warning signal through the roots to the trees around it. The healthy trees, receiving this message in the dark, begin to ramp up their own immune systems, producing protective compounds before the threat even arrives. It is a silent whisper of warning, a neighborhood watch system that operates without a sound, protecting the forest as a whole. Visualizing this, we can see the forest floor as a humming grid of information. It is not unlike the internet that connects our human world, but it is far slower, deeper, and more organic. A message here does not travel at the speed of light, but at the speed of flowing sap and chemical diffusion. It is a slow, thoughtful communication. One tree whispers to another across the distance of a few meters, and that whisper travels on, creating a ripple of awareness that spreads through the grove. It is a comforting thought to know that the trees are looking out for one another, standing guard in the silence, linked by bonds of chemical empathy. Within this network, there are central hubs, often called mother trees. These are the oldest, largest, and most connected trees in the forest. Because their root systems are so vast and deep, they are connected to hundreds of other trees of different ages and species. These matriarchs of the forest act as anchors, stabilizing the soil and managing the flow of resources across the network. They are the grandmothers of the wood, standing tall and wise, their trunks thick with the history of centuries. The mother trees exhibit a behavior that feels incredibly tender and human. Studies show that they can distinguish their own seedlings, their own children, from other young trees. They will send extra carbon and nutrients through the fungal network specifically to these young saplings, helping them survive in the dim light of the understory. They quite literally feed their young through an umbilical cord of soil and fungi. It is a vision of maternal care that transcends the animal kingdom, a picture of ancient wooden giants gently nurturing the next generation in the quiet nursery of the forest floor. In their shadow, we see that care and protection are universal languages, spoken even by the silent oaks and pines. This connection extends even to trees of different species. In a mixed forest, a birch tree might send sugars to a fir tree during the summer when the birch has leaves and the fir is shaded. Then, in the winter, when the birch is leafless and dormant, the evergreen fir will send sugars back to the birch. They support each other through their respective seasons of need. It is a long-term friendship, a pact of mutual aid that ignores the boundaries of species. It challenges our assumption that nature is purely competitive. Instead, we see a wisdom that understands that the health of the individual depends on the health of the entire forest. The network also plays a crucial role when a tree is dying. As an old tree approaches the end of its life, it will often dump its remaining resources, its carbon and nutrients, back into the network. It empties its savings account, gifting its lifetime of accumulated energy to the trees around it. Even in death, the tree is giving. It ensures that nothing is wasted, that its life force is not lost but simply transferred to the community. Let us imagine this final act of generosity. The old tree, weary and brittle, feels the end approaching, but there is no panic, only a slow, graceful release. It pushes its energy down deep into the roots, sending a final golden wave of nourishment out into the web. It is a legacy left not in words or monuments, but in the very strength of the forest that remains. It teaches us that letting go can be a gift, and that we are part of a larger flow of life that continues long after our individual part is done. The forest remembers the old tree, carrying its energy in the fresh green leaves of the saplings it helped to feed. The environment where this happens, the soil itself, is a place of profound peace. We often think of dirt as dirty, but in the context of the forest, soil is a living, breathing skin of the earth. It is composed of fallen leaves, crumbled rocks, ancient dust, and the microscopic lives of billions of organisms. It smells of rain and musk, a grounding scent that instantly calms the human nervous system. This is the place where everything eventually returns, a soft, welcoming bed that recycles life into new forms. Picture yourself lying on this soft forest floor, looking up at the canopy. You can feel the coolness of the earth beneath you, seeping into your back, soothing your muscles. You are resting on top of the wood wide web. Beneath you, millions of tiny threads are pulsing with life, carrying water and messages in the dark. You are supported by a living cradle, a hammock woven from roots and fungi. You are held by the earth, just as the trees are held. There is a sense of immense stability here. The ground is solid. The roots are deep. You do not need to worry about falling, for the entire forest is holding on to the earth with a grip that has lasted for millennia. This underground world moves at a pace that is even slower than the leaves above. Down here, changes happen over decades and centuries. A root might take a year to grow a few inches. A fungal colony might take a century to cover a hillside. This is the deep time of geology and biology merging. To tune into this rhythm is to let go of the ticking clock entirely. Down here, there is no Monday or Tuesday, only the long, slow cycles of wet and dry, warm and cold. It is a relief to think of a place where time is measured not in minutes, but in seasons of growth and rest. In the winter, the activity in the web slows down, but it does not stop. As the ground freezes and the snow piles up above, the roots and fungi enter a state of dormancy. They are like sleeping bears, their metabolic fires turned down low. They wait in the dark, conserving their energy, trusting implicitly that the spring will return. This is the patience of the earth. It does not rush the winter. It knows that the cold is necessary for rest, and that the darkness is a time for repairing and strengthening the internal structures. We can learn from this winter sleep, allowing ourselves periods of dormancy where we do not need to produce or achieve. The darkness of the soil is not a scary darkness. It is a nurturing one. It is the darkness of the womb, of the seed case, of the deep ocean. It is a protective cover that shields the delicate roots from the harshness of the sun and the wind. In this dark, the roots are free to explore, to drink, and to grow without judgment. It reminds us that we all have a hidden side, a root system of our own. Our private thoughts, our history, our inner feelings that needs darkness and privacy to flourish. We do not need to be in the spotlight to be growing. Like the trees, our most important growth often happens in the unseen depths of our being. As we drift away from this image of the underground web, we are left with a feeling of profound connection. We see that a forest is not a collection of isolated individuals, but one single massive organism, connected by a beating heart of roots and fungi. And we are part of this world too. We walk upon it, we breathe its air, we are grounded by its gravity. The same atoms that make up the soil and the roots make up our bodies. We are connected to the wood wide web in a spiritual sense, part of the great unfolding mystery of life on Earth. Resting in this knowledge, you can feel a sense of belonging. You are not alone in the universe. You are part of a vast, supportive network of life that stretches beneath your feet and all around you. The trees are holding hands underground, and in a way they are holding you too. You can let go of your loneliness and your fear. You can sink into the support of the mattress, knowing it is supported by the floor, which is supported by the earth, which is held together by the roots of the ancient forests. You are safe. You are held. You are home. We have traveled through the invisible air of the leaves and the dark soil of the roots. Now, we turn our gaze to something even more profound, the concept of deep time. In the high mountains and the hidden valleys of our world, there exist living beings that have been standing in the same spot since before the pyramids of Egypt were built. These are the ancient watchers, the elder spirits of the planet who view human history as merely a fleeting afternoon. To be in their presence, or even to hold them in your mind, is to touch eternity. There are specific trees in the White Mountains of California, known as the Great Basin Bristlecone pines. Some of these twisted, weathered beings are over 4,800 years old. This means there were already saplings when the first stones of Stonehenge were being raised in England. They were already old when the Roman Empire rose and fell. They have stood silently on their dry, windswept peaks while the entire history of modern civilization played out in the valleys below. These trees survive in conditions that seem impossible for life, thriving in rocky soil with almost no water, and enduring freezing winds. Yet it is this very adversity that gives them their longevity. Because the climate is so harsh, they grow incredibly slowly, sometimes adding less than an inch of girth in a century. This slow growth creates wood that is dense, resinous, and resistant to rot and insects. It is a profound lesson in the value of taking one's time, by refusing to rush, by growing with agonizing slowness. The bristlecone pine achieves a kind of immortality. In their gnarled, golden forms, we see that a difficult life does not mean a short life, and that sometimes the things that challenge us are the very things that make us endure. The appearance of these ancients is a sculpture carved by the wind itself. Over thousands of years, the sand and ice carried by the gale have polished their wood into smooth, flowing shapes that look like frozen flames or petrified rivers. Parts of the tree may die, bleaching white in the sun, while a single strip of living bark continues to connect the roots to a few green needles. This is a strategy of quiet economy, where the tree lets go of what is unnecessary to preserve the core of its life. It stands like a wise monk, stripped of all possessions, holding on to only the essential spark of existence. It teaches us that we can weather any storm if we are willing to simplify, to shed the heavy burdens we carry, and focus on the singular, simple act of breathing. Far across the ocean, in the misty churchyards of Great Britain and the forests of Europe, stands another ancient watcher, the yew tree. These dark evergreen giants are often found in sacred spaces, planted by druids and early priests who recognize their power. Some yews are believed to be between 2,000 and 5,000 years old. They are the guardians of the resting places of the dead, standing watch over generations of sleepers with a patience that defies understanding. Their canopy creates a deep, permanent shade, a sanctuary of silence where time seems to stop completely. The yew tree possesses a unique biological secret that allows it to cheat death. As the central trunk of a yew grows old, it often becomes hollow, decaying from the inside out. But this is not the end. Instead, the tree sends down internal roots from its branches, growing new trunks inside the hollow shell of the old one. It is a constant process of rebirth from within. The tree consumes its own past to fuel its future, creating a living paradox where the creature is both ancient and young at the same time. Visualizing this, we can see the yew as a symbol of eternal renewal. It does not fear the decay of age. It embraces it as the soil for new growth. It stands as a dark green cathedral, constantly rebuilding its own walls. Under its branches, the air is still and cool, protected from the heat of the summer and the bite of the winter. To rest beneath a yew is to rest inside a circle of life that has no beginning and no end. It reminds us that we too have the power to reinvent ourselves, to grow new hope inside the hollow spaces of our old sorrows, and to continue living with fresh strength. In the Sierra Nevada mountains, there are giants that operate on a scale of size as well as time, the giant sequoias. These are the most massive living things on Earth, trees so large that a single branch can be bigger than an entire oak tree. The most famous among them, known as General Sherman, is not just a tree. It is a towering pillar of biology, a living skyscraper that has been drinking the snowmelt of the mountains for over 2,000 years. Standing at the base of a sequoia and looking up is a dizzying, humbling experience, where the red trunk seems to ascend forever, disappearing into the blue vault of the sky. The bark of the giant sequoia is soft and fibrous, sometimes up to 2 feet thick. This thick skin is fire-resistant, protecting the delicate living cambium beneath from the heat of forest fires. Over thousands of years, these trees have seen countless fires sweep through the undergrowth. While other plants perish, the sequoia stands firm, its thick armor absorbing the heat. In fact, the heat of the fire is what opens their cones, allowing their seeds to fall into the ash-enriched soil. Imagine wrapping your arms around the very edge of such a tree, pressing your cheek against the warm, soft bark. You are touching a living shield that has repelled the flames of centuries. The tree stands as a testament to the power of resilience and thick skin. It does not run from the fire. It is built to withstand it. It teaches us that we can build our own inner resilience, a layer of soft, protective peace that allows us to remain standing even when the world around us feels chaotic or heated. The sequoia is calm because it knows it is safe within its own armor, rooted deeply in the earth, drinking from deep reserves of water that the fire cannot reach. There is a colony of quaking aspen trees in Utah known as pando, a name that is Latin for "I spread." To the casual observer, pando looks like a forest of 47,000 individual trees. But pando is actually a single living organism. All of these trees are genetically identical stems connected by a massive single underground root system. This colony is estimated to be 80,000 years old. It has been alive since the last ice age, quietly spreading, sending up new shoots, and retreating underground when the climate turned cold. Pando challenges our very definition of the individual. When the wind blows through the golden leaves of the aspen, it is not thousands of trees shaking. It is one great being trembling with the joy of existence. The leaves flutter with a distinctive sound, a soft rushing whisper that sounds like water flowing over stones. This is the voice of an 80,000-year-old creature speaking to the wind. Let your mind drift into this golden grove. You are surrounded by thousands of white trunks, their leaves shimmering in the autumn sun like coins of gold. The light is filtered and warm. Beneath your feet, the earth is humming with the connection of the single root system. Pando reminds us that separation is an illusion. We often feel alone, isolated in our own separate lives, but like the aspen, we are all connected at the root. We share the same earth, the same air, the same history. We are part of a larger human grove, and we are never truly solitary. In the deep, quiet reality of the planet, we are one. In the deserts of Namibia, there is a plant called Welwitschia mirabilis. It is not a tall tree, but a low, sprawling plant that consists of only 2 leaves that grow continuously for its entire life. Some of these plants are over 2,000 years old. They sit alone in the vast, empty desert, absorbing moisture from the morning fog that rolls in from the ocean. Their leaves become tattered and twisted by the desert winds, piling up around them like a heap of green ribbons. Yet the core of the plant remains alive and growing. The Welwitschia is a master of minimalism. It does not need a forest. It does not need a river. It needs only the fog and the patience to wait for it. It sits in the stillness of the desert, where the only sound is the shifting sand and the distant crash of the waves. It is a solitary meditation that has lasted for millennia. Imagine the peace of this desert existence. There is no clutter, no noise, no demand for attention. There is only the vast, open sky and the cool touch of the mist at dawn. The plant simply receives what comes to it. It does not chase the water. It waits for the water to arrive in the form of fog. It teaches us the art of non-striving. We do not always need to chase our desires. Sometimes, if we sit still enough, if we are patient enough, what we need will come to us, gently and softly, like the morning mist settling on the leaves of the desert. There is a particular feeling of safety that comes from thinking about these ancient watchers. We often worry about the future, about the uncertainty of tomorrow. But these trees have seen millions of tomorrows. They have seen the world change in unimaginable ways, and yet they are still here. They have survived ice ages, droughts, storms, and fires. Their presence is a reassurance that life is durable. The force that flows through them is the same force that flows through you. It is a stubborn, quiet, persistent force that knows how to survive. When you feel overwhelmed by the speed of your life, you can mentally lean against the trunk of a bristlecone pine. Feel its solidity. Feel the density of its wood, packed tight with thousands of years of memory. It does not sway easily. It is anchored in the rock. It offers you its strength. You can borrow its timeline. For a few moments, stop measuring your life in hours and minutes. Measure it in centuries. Seen from the perspective of the ancient watcher, your current worries are small, fleeting clouds passing over the face of a mountain. They will pass. The sky will clear. And you will still be here, rooted and safe. The silence of these old trees is not an empty silence. It is a silence full of presence. It is the silence of a library, or a temple, or a sleeping child. It is a silence that commands respect. When you enter a grove of old-growth redwoods or yews, you instinctively lower your voice. You walk softer. The trees impose their tranquility upon you. They are broadcasting a frequency of slow, deep calm that overrides the frantic frequency of the human mind. As we conclude this chapter of our journey, let us leave these ancient guardians to their eternal watch. They will be there tonight while you sleep. The bristlecone will be standing under the cold, bright stars of the mountain. The sequoia will be drinking the mist in the valley. The yew will be resting in the quiet churchyard. The pando colony will be dreaming in the soil of Utah. They are holding the world steady for you. They are the anchors of the earth, keeping the timeline secure so that you can let go and drift into the timeless realm of sleep. You are protected by their age, comforted by their endurance, and invited to join them in the long, slow, peaceful river of time. We have walked among the ancient watchers and felt the deep time of the mountains. Now, let us draw closer to the present moment, to the gentle transition that happens every single evening in your own garden or on your windowsill. As the sun begins to dip below the horizon and the shadows stretch long across the grass, a profound change sweeps over the green world. We often think of plants as static sculptures, unchanging day and night. But if we look closely in the twilight, we can see that they are preparing for bed, just as we do. This is the phenomenon of plant sleep, a quiet folding inward that welcomes the darkness with a posture of perfect rest. There is a scientific term for the movement of plants in response to the onset of darkness, called Nyctinasty. Derived from the Greek roots for night and pressing close, it describes the behavior where leaves and flowers close up or droop when the light fades. This is not a wilting caused by lack of water, but an active, deliberate choice made by the plant to protect itself during the cold hours of the night. It is a nightly ritual that has been performed for millions of years, long before humans ever lay down to sleep. Watching a garden undergo this transformation is like watching a slow-motion wave of relaxation wash over the earth, turning the vibrant, outward-facing energy of the day into a soft, enclosed stillness. At the base of the leaf stalk there is a specialized joint called the pulvinus, which acts like a tiny, fluid-filled muscle. During the day, the plant pumps water into specific cells within this joint, creating turgor pressure that keeps the leaf stiff and open to the sun. But as the evening approaches, the plant reverses this process, gently pumping the water out of those cells and moving it to a holding area. As the pressure drops, the joint becomes flexible and soft, allowing the leaf to fold downward or upward, obeying the pull of gravity or its own internal design. Let us visualize this internal release of tension. Imagine the water within the plant's cells slowly retreating, flowing out of the stiff joints, like a tide going out. It is the biological equivalent of an exhale. Just as you might unbutton a tight collar or take off heavy shoes at the end of the day, the plant releases the hydraulic pressure that has held it upright for so long. The leaf simply lets go. It surrenders its rigid posture and allows itself to become soft. It teaches us that true rest requires a physical release, a conscious letting go of the tension we hold in our shoulders and our backs, allowing our own internal waters to settle into a pool of calm. One of the most beautiful examples of this sleep behavior is found in the Maranta plant, commonly known as the prayer plant. During the day, its oval leaves lie flat, spreading wide to catch the filtered light of the forest floor. But as the light dims, the leaves slowly hinge upward at the base, folding together like a pair of hands in prayer. They rise up to face the night sky, revealing the soft purple undersides of their leaves, standing like silent sentinels of gratitude in the dark. This nightly movement is so dramatic that you can sometimes hear the faint rustle of the leaves brushing against each other as they tuck themselves in. Imagine a room filled with these gentle beings, all slowly lifting their green hands as the moon rises. It is a gesture of reverence and protection. By folding up, the plant reduces its surface area, preventing precious moisture from evaporating and protecting its delicate veins from the chill of the night air. It creates a microclimate of warmth within its own folded embrace. In this image of the prayer plant, we see a beautiful metaphor for our own sleep. To sleep is to turn inward, to fold our energy back into ourselves, protecting our own inner warmth from the cold demands of the world. It is a time to close the book of the day and enter a state of quiet, prayerful restoration. This sleeping behavior is not limited to leaves. It is perhaps most famous in the closing of flowers. Think of the tulip, the water lily, or the hibiscus. These flowers are the extroverts of the day, displaying their bright colors and offering their nectar to the bees. But when the sun sets, they carefully close their petals, overlapping them tightly to seal the center of the bloom. This action protects the delicate reproductive parts, the pollen and the stigma, from the dew and the frost. It is a locking of the treasure chest for the night, ensuring that the precious gold inside is kept safe until the morning sun returns. Visualizing a field of tulips at dusk is a study in collective rest. One by one, the cups of color fold in on themselves, turning from open bowls into slender, tapered domes. The field, which was a riot of color and invitation during the day, becomes a muted private space. The flowers are not gone. They are simply resting. They are conserving their fragrance and their energy. It reminds us that we do not need to be open and available to the world 24 hours a day. We are allowed to close our petals. We are allowed to protect our soft centers and withdraw into a private, safe shape where we can rejuvenate our spirit without apology. The ability of plants to track time is governed by an internal circadian rhythm, very similar to the biological clock that ticks within your own brain. Even if you were to place a mimosa plant in a constantly dark closet, it would still open its leaves in the morning and close them at night for several days, following the memory of the sun. Deep within its genetic code, the plant carries the rhythm of the planet. It knows when the dawn is coming before the first photon of light hits its leaves. It anticipates the sunrise, preparing its internal chemistry for the work of the day, and it anticipates the sunset, preparing its cells for the rest of the night. This internal knowledge is a profound comfort. It suggests that the rhythm of rest is not just a reaction to the outside world, but a fundamental part of who we are. We are built for cycles. We are woven from the same fabric of time as the turning earth. When you feel the heaviness of sleep pressing on your eyelids, it is not a weakness. It is your own biological clock chiming in harmony with the ancient rhythm of the plant world. You are syncing up with the great slow pendulum of life. You can trust this rhythm. You do not need to force sleep. You only need to listen to the quiet signal that says it is time to fold, time to close, time to rest. The famous naturalist, Charles Darwin, was fascinated by this behavior and spent countless hours studying the sleep of plants. He described the way the clover leaves would fold together and droop, minimizing their exposure to the cold night sky. He saw this not as a passive state, but as a vital survival strategy. In his quiet greenhouse, watching the leaves descend into their nightly posture, he found a sense of kinship with the vegetable world. He realized that sleep is the universal healer, the common denominator that links the scientist, the clover, and the stars. Let us step into that greenhouse in our minds. The air is warm and humid, smelling of damp earth and green sap. The glass panes are dark, reflecting the moonlight. All around you, on the wooden benches, hundreds of plants are in their sleeping postures. The ferns have curtailed their fronds. The wood sorrel has folded its triangular leaves like tiny umbrellas. The silence is absolute, but it is a living silence. You are standing in a dormitory of nature, surrounded by thousands of sleeping souls. There is a sense of safety here, a feeling that the struggle of survival has been suspended for the night. You can breathe in the peace of this sleeping garden, letting the stillness of the green leaves settle into your own lungs. There are some trees, like the silk tree or the albizia, that sleep on a massive scale. These large trees have fern-like leaves with hundreds of tiny leaflets. As evening falls, every single one of these thousands of leaflets folds together. If you stand under such a tree at twilight, you can see the canopy literally thinning out. The sky becomes more visible through the branches as the leaves tuck themselves away. The tree transforms from a dense umbrella of shade into a skeletal open structure that lets the starlight pass through. It is as if the tree is undressing for the night, stripping away its solar panels to stand naked and honest in the dark. This transformation teaches us the beauty of vulnerability. In the safety of the night, the tree casts aside its armor. It opens itself to the stars. It stops working, stops shading, stops striving. It simply is. As you lie in your bed, you can emulate the silk tree. You can let the dense canopy of your thoughts thin out. You can let the light of your dreams shine through the spaces where your worries used to be. You can allow yourself to be open, spacious, and transparent, releasing the need to be a solid barrier against the world. In the rainforests, the sleep of leaves serves another purpose. It allows the rain to fall through to the ground. When the broad leaves of the canopy fold downward, they create vertical channels. The night rains can slip past them, watering the roots below instead of pooling on the leaves and causing rot. By lowering their defenses, the plants allow nourishment to reach the deepest parts of themselves. This is a wisdom we can carry into our sleep. By relaxing our defenses, by lowering our shields, we allow the nourishment of rest to penetrate deep into our roots, into the subconscious parts of our minds that need healing the most. Even the humble dandelion on your lawn participates in this nightly ritual. The yellow flower head, which tracks the sun so faithfully during the day, closes into a tight green bud at night. It is a daily cycle of opening to the world and returning to the self. It never tires of this rhythm. It never decides to stay open all night out of fear of missing out. It knows that to shine brightly tomorrow, it must close completely tonight. It trusts that the sun will return and that it will be ready to greet it. As we drift deeper into this chapter of sleep, imagine that your own body is a leaf on a vast ancient tree. Your bed is the branch that supports you. Your blankets are the soft, humid air of the greenhouse. You can feel the pulviness of your own neck and shoulders releasing their pressure. The water of your energy is draining out of your muscles, flowing back to the center, leaving your limbs heavy and soft. You are folding inward. Your eyelids are the petals of a flower closing against the night. You are sealing in your warmth, your dreams, your essence. There is nothing left to do. The photosynthesis of the day is finished. The sugar has been made. The work is done. Now is the time for the slow hydraulic release of tension. Now is the time for the droop, the fold, the clasping of hands in the dark. You are safe in the garden of the night, surrounded by billions of other sleeping leaves, all breathing slowly, all trusting the darkness. The world is asleep, and you are drifting with it, carried on the gentle, invisible tide of the circadian rhythm that rocks every living thing to sleep. We have rested with the sleeping leaves and felt the deep roots of the ancient trees. Now, let us turn our attention to the moment when a plant decides to reveal its hidden heart to the world. We are going to witness the phenomenon of blooming. To the human eye, a flower often appears as a static object, a beautiful decoration that simply sits in a vase. But if we were to adjust our perception of time, if we could see the world through the accelerated lens of a time-lapse camera, we would see that a blooming flower is actually an explosion. It is a slow-motion firework, a burst of color and geometry that erupts from the green stem, expanding outward with a silent, unstoppable force that celebrates the very act of being alive. There is a precise biological mechanism that triggers this expansion, beginning deep within the tightly curled bud. Before a flower opens, it is a fortress of potential, with all its petals folded over one another in an intricate, microscopic origami. The plant pumps water into the cells at the base of the petals, increasing the internal pressure until it becomes irresistible. This hydraulic force pushes the petals outward, breaking the seal of the green sepals that had protected them. It is a physical act of pushing against the boundaries, a gentle but firm refusal to remain small. Let us visualize this moment of breaking free. Imagine the bud as a small green knot of energy, holding its breath. Slowly, the pressure builds from within, not with violence, but with a steady hydraulic determination. The green casing cracks open, revealing a sliver of color, a hint of pink, a flash of white, a streak of gold. It is like the first crack of dawn, breaking the darkness of the night. The flower is waking up from a long sleep, stretching its limbs and pushing aside the heavy blankets of its protective covering. In this slow unfurling, we see the courage it takes to become vulnerable, to break open the armor we have built around ourselves. One of the most captivating examples of this slow explosion is the blooming of a rose. A rosebud is a masterpiece of spiral engineering, with dozens of petals wrapped around each other in a tight embrace. As the bloom begins, the outer petals peel back first, curling their edges downward to create a platform. Then, the inner petals loosen, spiraling open in a sequence that follows the golden ratio, a mathematical pattern of perfection found throughout the universe. It is a dance of unveiling where each layer reveals a deeper, softer layer beneath. Picture a single red rose opening in the quiet of a garden at sunrise. It does not pop open, it glides open. It is a fluid motion, like a dancer extending her arms or a piece of silk falling through the air. The tightness of the center slowly relaxes, creating a cup that is ready to catch the morning dew. The rose is not rushing to the finish line. It is savoring the process of opening. It teaches us that true beauty cannot be forced or hurried. It must be allowed to unfold at its own rhythm, layer by layer, spiral by spiral, until the heart is fully revealed in its own perfect time. There is a tremendous amount of energy required to produce this display. For a plant, creating a flower is an expensive investment. It requires sugars that have been painstakingly gathered over months of photosynthesis, and nutrients that have been mined from the soil by the deepest roots. The plant is literally spending its savings account on this one magnificent gesture. It pours its life force into the creation of pigments, nectar, and fragrance, holding nothing back. Think of this as a supreme act of generosity. The plant does not hoard its energy for itself. It transforms it into a gift of beauty for the world. It turns the sunlight and the soil into a structure of impossible delicacy and grace. It is a slow-motion firework that consumes the fuel of the plant's life to create a moment of wonder. This sacrifice reminds us that the purpose of accumulating energy, whether it is physical strength, knowledge, or wealth, is ultimately to transform it into something beautiful that can be shared, something that adds color and fragrance to the lives of others. In the muddy waters of ponds and lakes, the lotus flower offers a different kind of slow explosion. The lotus begins its life in the dark, suffocating mud at the bottom of the pond. It sends a long, sinuous stalk up through the murky water, reaching for the light it cannot yet see. When it finally breaks the surface, it produces a bud that is clean, pristine, and entirely untouched by the mud from which it came. As the sun rises, the lotus opens its petals, revealing a center of radiant gold and pink, floating serenely above the water. This journey from the mud to the sun is a powerful meditation on transcendence. Visualizing the lotus opening is like watching a miracle in slow motion. The heavy, dark water falls away, leaving only the pure, waxy petals that repel every speck of dust. The flower opens like a pair of hands rising from the depths to catch the light. It is a silent victory of light over darkness, of order over chaos. It reassures us that no matter how heavy or cloudy our surroundings may feel, we possess the inner buoyancy to rise, to break the surface, and to bloom in the clear air of a new day. There are flowers that prefer to stage their fireworks in the secrecy of the night, known as the night bloomers. The queen of the night, or Epiphyllum oxypetalum, is a cactus flower that blooms only once a year, and only for a single night. It begins to open as the sun sets, its white petals trembling as they spread wide, releasing a hauntingly sweet fragrance to attract moths and bats. By the time the sun rises the next morning, the flower has wilted and died. It exists for just a few hours of perfection. Imagine sitting in the dark, waiting for this rare event. The air is cool and still. Slowly, the white petals of the Queen of the Night begin to quiver and separate. It glows in the moonlight like a ghostly lantern, a star born from a cactus. It is a performance for an audience of silence. The flower pours its entire year of existence into this one night of glory. It does not care that the sun will not see it. It blooms in the darkness. It teaches us the value of the ephemeral. Not everything needs to last forever to be meaningful. Some moments are precious precisely because they are brief, and we must be present, awake, and attentive to catch them before they fade. The explosion of a flower is not just visual, it is also an explosion of scent. As the petals expand, specialized glands release volatile organic compounds into the air. These are invisible clouds of perfume that travel much further than the flower itself. A single jasmine vine can fill an entire courtyard with its scent, touching people who cannot even see the plant. The scent is the flower's voice, a silent song that drifts on the wind, calling out to pollinators and soothing the souls of humans. Let this invisible cloud drift into your mind now. Imagine the scent of lavender, or jasmine, or lilac. It is a sweet, heavy wave that washes over you, entering your body with every breath. It is a form of aromatherapy, created by the earth itself. The flower is extending its presence beyond its physical boundaries, occupying the space around it with sweetness. It reminds us that our influence is not limited to our physical reach. Like the scent of a flower, our kindness, our calm, and our gentle thoughts can drift outward, touching people we may not even see, sweetening the atmosphere of the world in invisible ways. There is a microscopic landscape on the surface of these petals. If you were to look at a petal under a microscope, you would see that it is not flat. It is covered in tiny cone-shaped cells that act like microscopic lenses. These cells capture the light and bounce it around inside the pigment layer, intensifying the color and giving the flower a velvet-like sheen. The flower is not just painted with color, it is engineered to manipulate light, to glow from within. Visualize this inner glow. The flower is not merely reflecting the sun, it is interacting with it, playing with the light to create a visual frequency that attracts the eye. It is a master of optics, using physics to create beauty. When you look at a deep purple iris or a vibrant yellow daffodil, you are seeing the result of millions of tiny lenses working in unison. It is a reminder that beauty often comes from the smallest details, from the tiny hidden structures that shape how we reflect the light of the world. We too have our own inner textures, our own ways of catching and reflecting the light that makes us unique. The cherry blossom, or sakura, offers a lesson in the collective explosion of blooming. A single cherry blossom is small and fragile, but when millions of them bloom together, they transform the entire landscape into a pink cloud. The trees seem to dissolve into mist, blurring the line between the earth and the sky. This mass blooming is a synchronized event where every bud agrees to open at the same time, creating a fleeting season of overwhelming beauty that stops an entire nation in its tracks to simply look up and admire. Picture yourself walking under a canopy of these blossoms. The world above you is soft and pink. The light filtering through is rosy and warm. Occasionally, a gentle breeze shakes the branches, and a shower of petals falls like slow pink snow. They land in your hair, on your shoulders, and carpet the ground in a soft mosaic. The firework here is gentle enough to touch. It is falling all around you, a rain of flowers that softens the hard edges of the pavement. It teaches us the power of community and synchronization. When we bloom together, when we coordinate our beauty and our joy, we can change the very atmosphere of the world around us. There is also the agave plant, the century plant, which waits decades to bloom. For 10, 20, or 30 years, it sits in the desert, a rosette of spiky leaves, doing nothing but gathering energy. It stores every drop of water, every ray of sunlight, and then, at the very end of its life, it sends up a massive stalk, sometimes 20 feet high, resembling a giant asparagus spear. This stalk bursts into a candelabra of yellow flowers, a final, massive release of energy. After blooming, the plant dies. It gives its life for one single, spectacular display. This is the ultimate slow firework. It is a lifetime of patience for one moment of expression. It is a story of total commitment. The agave does not hold back a reserve for next year. There is no next year. There is only now. It pours everything it is, everything it has ever been, into this one tower of gold. It stands tall against the blue desert sky, a monument to the idea that it is never too late to bloom, and that fulfilling one's purpose is worth every ounce of energy we possess. It allows us to rest in the knowledge that our own periods of waiting are not wasted. We are simply gathering strength for our own moment of rising. Even the humblest weeds participate in this celebration. The dandelion, before it becomes a clock of seeds, is a burst of yellow sunshine in the green grass. It opens with the morning light and closes in the evening, a daily practice of blooming. It does not ask for permission to grow in the cracks of the sidewalk. It simply opens. It claims its space with a bright, cheerful tenacity. It reminds us that blooming is not reserved for the rare or the pampered. It is a right belonging to every living thing. You do not need perfect conditions to bloom. You only need the light and the will to open. As we conclude this chapter, let us hold the image of the world as a garden of slow explosions. Everywhere you look, on every continent, in every climate, flowers are silently bursting open. In the rainforests, orchids are unfurling like alien butterflies. In the alpine meadows, tiny blue gentians are opening to the cold mountain air. In the deserts, cacti are crowning themselves with satin flowers. This is a continuous rolling wave of celebration that travels around the planet. The earth is celebrating itself. It is decorating itself. And you are a witness to this party. You can let the tension in your own body unfurl like a petal. You can let your tight muscles relax and spread out, taking up space, becoming soft and open. You can visualize your own mind as a bud that is slowly, gently opening to the peace of the night. There is no rush. The flower does not hurry the bee. You do not need to hurry to sleep. Let it come like the slow opening of a rose, petal by petal, until you are fully immersed in the soft, fragrant center of the dream. We have looked up at the towering trees and watched the flowers bloom in slow motion. Now, let us gently lower our gaze, down past the ferns, down past the fallen leaves, until we reach the very floor of the world. Here, hugging the stones and softening the roots of the giants, lives the most humble and peaceful of all plants, the moss. To enter the world of moss is to enter a realm of profound softness, a place where the hard edges of reality are wrapped in green velvet, and the passage of time is measured not in hours, but in the slow accumulation of quiet. There is a biological simplicity to moss that is deeply restful to contemplate. These are the bryophytes, the oldest land plants on Earth, the pioneers who first crept out of the water to green the barren rock. Unlike the complex trees and flowers we have met, moss has no true roots to dig into the earth, no vascular system to pump water against gravity, and no flashy flowers to demand attention. They are the minimalists of the forest, surviving with almost nothing, asking for almost nothing. In this simplicity, we find a lesson in letting go. Moss does not strive to be tall. It does not compete for the direct sunlight. It is content to stay low, to inhabit the shadows, to cling to the surfaces that others ignore. It teaches us that we do not always need to be complex or ambitious to be successful. We can simply be. We can lie low close to the nurturing earth and find everything we need in the damp, quiet corners of our own lives. There is a great freedom in releasing the need to be big and finding the joy in being small, soft, and close to the source. The physical structure of moss is designed to be the ultimate sponge. Because they lack roots, mosses absorb water and nutrients directly through their tiny, translucent leaves. Every cell on the surface of a moss cushion is open to the rain, the dew, and the fog. When moisture arrives, the moss drinks it in with a thirst that is almost audible, swelling instantly, turning from a dry, brittle grey into a vibrant, glowing emerald green. It can hold up to 20 times its own weight in water, becoming a living reservoir that keeps the forest floor cool and humid. Visualize this transformation as a slow, deep breath of hydration. Imagine a dry patch of moss on a stone, waiting patiently in the afternoon heat. Then, a gentle rain begins to fall. As the droplets touch the moss, the tiny leaves unfurl and expand, soaking up the liquid life. The color deepens and intensifies, shifting from a dusty sage to a brilliant jewel-like jade. It is a moment of pure revitalization. The moss does not struggle to find water. It simply opens itself to receive it. It reminds us that sometimes our only job is to remain open, to be soft enough to absorb the nourishment that the universe offers us, allowing the rain of relaxation to soak into our dry, tired spirits until we are heavy with peace. There is a texture to moss that calls out to the sense of touch, even in our imagination. It is the earth's upholstery, a natural cushioning that covers the sharp rocks and the decaying logs with a layer of supreme softness. If you were to press your hand into a deep bed of sphagnum moss or a carpet of mood moss, your fingers would sink in, met by a springy, cool resistance. It is softer than the finest wool, deeper than the thickest carpet, a tactile embrace that invites you to rest your head. Imagine walking barefoot through a forest floor, entirely covered in this living velvet. With every step, your foot sinks slightly, cushioned by millions of tiny water-filled stems. There is no sound of footsteps, only a soft compression. The moss absorbs the impact, protecting your soles, connecting you to the ground with a gentle intimacy. It transforms the rugged terrain into a bed. It teaches us the power of gentleness. By being soft, the moss conquers the hard rock. It does not break the stone. It hugs it, covers it, and slowly, over centuries, transforms it. We too can face the hard realities of life not with force, but with a softness that wraps around the obstacles, turning them into places of rest. This carpet of green also acts as the forest's silencer. The acoustic properties of moss are remarkable. Its complex, chaotic texture traps sound waves, preventing them from bouncing off the ground and echoing through the trees. A mossy forest is noticeably quieter than any other landscape. The wind whispers rather than howls. The call of a bird is crisp and short, swallowed quickly by the green walls. It creates a sanctuary of sound, a natural recording studio, where the noise of the world is dampened and hushed. Let yourself drift into this acoustic stillness. Imagine you are sitting in a hollow filled with moss. The noise of the traffic, the hum of electronics, the chatter of voices. All of it is filtered out by the green sponge. The silence here is thick and physical. It wraps around you like a heavy blanket. In this quiet, your own thoughts begin to slow down. The urgency fades. You can hear the sound of your own breathing, the beat of your own heart. The moss is holding the silence for you, creating a space where you can finally listen to the quiet voice within yourself that is usually drowned out by the noise of the day. If we look closely, magnifying our vision, we discover that a patch of moss is not just a carpet, but a miniature forest in itself. What looks like a flat green surface is actually thousands of tiny, individual plants standing shoulder to shoulder. There are fern-like fronds, tiny star-shaped rosettes, and miniature palm trees, all growing on a scale so small that a raindrop is a massive event. Tiny insects roam this jungle like tigers in the Amazon, and microscopic creatures called tardigrades swim in the thin film of water on the leaves. Shift your perspective to become microscopic. Shrink down until you are walking among the stems of the moss. Towering above you are translucent green pillars, glowing with the light of the sun filtering through their cells. The air is humid and smells of pure oxygen. Dewdrops hang from the canopy like giant crystal chandeliers. It is a world of infinite complexity, hidden in plain sight. It reminds us that there is wonder everywhere, if we only slow down enough to look. We do not need to travel to distant galaxies to find new worlds. There is an entire universe of beauty waiting on the shaded side of a single oak tree. There is a resilience in moss that defies its delicate appearance, known as poikilohydry. This is the ability to dry out almost completely, entering a state of suspended animation that is indistinguishable from death, and then return to life. A piece of moss can stay dry and brown for years, sitting in the baking sun, seemingly lifeless. Its metabolism stops, it waits. But the moment water returns, even just a drop, it resurrects. Within minutes, the cellular machinery repairs itself, photosynthesis restarts, and the plant continues as if nothing happened. This is a profound comfort for the weary soul. It tells us that dormant periods are not the end. There are times in our lives when we feel dry, empty, or stalled. We feel like we have lost our color, our vitality. But like the moss, we are simply waiting. We are preserving our core. We have not lost the ability to live. We are just pausing until the conditions are right. And when the rain comes, whether it is rest, love, or inspiration, we will bounce back. We will turn green again. The capacity for revival is built into our very nature, just as it is built into the cells of the humble moss. In the ancient gardens of Japan, moss is cultivated with a reverence usually reserved for precious gems. In places like Saihoji, the moss temple in Kyoto, there are over 120 different kinds of moss, covering the ground in a rolling sea of green. The gardeners there do not plant flowers. They sweep the moss. They keep it clean of fallen leaves, allowing the undulating textures of the green carpet to take center stage. These gardens are designed for meditation, specifically to slow down the mind of the viewer. Picture yourself sitting on the veranda of such a temple. Before you lies a landscape of gentle green hills, all covered in thick, soft moss. The light is filtered through the maples, creating patterns of sun and shadow that move slowly across the velvet ground. There is no beginning and no end to the green. It flows over rocks, around tree trunks, and up the banks of the stream. It is a visual lullaby. Your eyes trace the soft curves, finding no sharp angles to snag on. The scene absorbs your attention and softens your gaze. You are looking at patience made visible. It has taken centuries for this moss to grow so thick. It invites you to match its pace, to sit still, to breathe slowly, and to appreciate the beauty of things that take a long, long time to mature. There is a gentle persistence to the way moss reclaims the works of man. If you leave a stone wall, a brick path, or an old wooden fence untouched for long enough, the moss will eventually find it. It starts as a thin green dust, then a crust, and finally a cushion. It softens the sharp edges of our architecture. It blurs the lines between the human world and the natural world. It is a slow, green tide that gently erases our boundaries. Instead of seeing this as decay, we can see it as a soft embrace. The earth is reclaiming its own. The moss is wrapping our hard structures in a blanket of life. It reminds us that everything eventually returns to nature. The sharp corners of our worries, the rigid structures of our plans. Eventually, the soft green patience of the universe will cover them over. We can surrender to this process. We can let the moss grow over our anxieties, softening them, rounding them out until they are just part of the peaceful landscape of our past. Deep in the forests of the Pacific Northwest, there exists a phenomenon called the canopy soil. Here, the moss grows so thick on the branches of the giant ancient trees that it creates its own layer of soil hundreds of feet in the air. This aerial moss acts like a sponge, soaking up the fog and rain, and provides a home for ferns, salamanders, and even other trees to grow high above the ground. It is a hanging garden, a suspended ecosystem held in the arms of the moss. Imagine floating up into this high canopy. You are surrounded by branches wrapped in thick green sleeves of moss. It is a world of dripping water and mist. The air is cleaner here than anywhere else on Earth. The moss is filtering the wind, catching the nutrients, creating life out of thin air. You are cradled in a nest of green, suspended between the earth and the sky. It is a place of perfect balance. The moss supports life not by being strong and rigid, but by being absorbent and accommodating. It teaches us that we can create a home, a sanctuary, anywhere we are, even in thin air, if we are willing to gather what comes to us and hold it with care. The reproduction of moss is a secret event that happens in the mist. Instead of showy flowers, moss sends up tiny, delicate stalks called sporophytes. These look like microscopic lanterns on thin wires, rising above the green carpet. When the humidity is just right, the capsules at the top of these stalks open and release a cloud of spores. These spores drift on the gentlest breeze, settling on new patches of damp earth to begin the cycle again. It is a silent dissemination. There are no bees buzzing, no petals falling, just a microscopic dust drifting in the quiet air. It is the scattering of dreams. Imagine your own thoughts as these weightless spores. You do not need to shout them to the world. You can simply release them gently into the quiet atmosphere of the night. Let them drift. Let them find their own place to land. You do not need to control where they go. The wind and the damp earth will take care of them. You can trust the process of release. As we lie here, let us invite the sensation of moss into our own bodies. Imagine that your skin is becoming porous and soft, like the leaves of the sphagnum. You are soaking up the darkness, the silence, the coolness of the room. You are sinking into the mattress as if it were a bed of deep, ancient moss in a shaded glen. The tension in your muscles is dissolving, absorbed by the sponge-like quality of the bed. You are grounded. You are cool. You are protected. The noise of the world cannot reach you here. It is trapped and silenced by the layers of green velvet that surround your mind. You are a stone that has been softened. You are a log that has been embraced. You are part of the quiet, damp, beautiful floor of the world, resting in the shade, waiting for nothing, needing nothing, simply existing in a state of perfect, soft, emerald peace. We have explored the deep roots in the soil and the soft moss on the rocks. Now let us ascend into a lighter, more ethereal realm, where the earth meets the sky in a gentle embrace of white. There are places on this planet where the rain does not always fall from above, but rather floats all around you, a suspended ocean of tiny droplets. In these mysterious zones known as the fog belts and cloud forests, the plants have evolved a miraculous ability to drink from the air itself. This is the domain of the drinkers of mist, a silent grey kingdom where survival depends not on the heavy soaking of a storm, but on the delicate, patient accumulation of floating vapor. There is a specific atmospheric phenomenon that sustains the tallest trees on Earth. These giants can grow over 300 feet tall, a height so vast that pumping water from the roots to the highest needles is a feat of hydraulic engineering that pushes the limits of physics. During the long, dry summers, the soil alone cannot provide enough moisture to keep the upper canopy alive. The solution comes rolling in from the Pacific Ocean every evening in the form of a thick, cold fog. This fog is not just weather. It is a lifeline, a ghostly river of hydration that flows through the upper branches, bringing the ocean to the forest. The mechanism by which the redwoods capture this water is a masterpiece of passive design. The needles of the redwood are not broad and flat, but narrow and arranged like the teeth of a comb. As the fog drifts through the forest, the needles physically comb the moisture out of the air. The tiny droplets of mist collide with the leaves, sticking to the surface and merging with other droplets until they become heavy enough to fall. This process is called fog drip. It creates a localized rain that falls only under the tree, watering its own roots and the ferns that grow in its shadow. Let us visualize this silent harvest. Imagine standing at the base of a redwood in the twilight. The air is cool and smells of salt and pine. High above you, hidden in the grey swirling mist, the tree is drinking. It is catching the clouds with millions of green fingers. You cannot see the top of the tree. It disappears into the white void, ascending into the mystery. All you can hear is the soft, rhythmic patter of water droplets falling from the branches, a gentle, ticking clock of nature. Drip, drip, drip. It is the sound of the tree watering itself. It reminds us that we do not always need to search for nourishment. Sometimes, if we stand tall and stay open, what we need will simply drift into our arms, condensing out of the thin air. This reliance on fog creates a unique atmosphere within the forest, a permanent state of damp, muted stillness. The fog acts as a natural insulator, dampening sound and softening the light. In a redwood grove, the sunlight is rarely harsh or direct. It is diffused, scattering through the mist, create a glowing, pearlescent illumination. Shadows are not black, but grey. Colors are not vivid, but deep and saturated. The bark of the trees looks dark and soft, like wet fur. To walk through this mist is to walk through a waking dream. The boundaries of the world are softened. You cannot see far into the distance, which forces your attention to rest on what is close and immediate. The fern frond, the droplet on a spiderweb, the texture of the path. This narrowing of the visual field is deeply relaxing for the brain. It removes the need to process the horizon, the need to plan ahead. You are enclosed in a white bubble of safety. The fog wraps around you like a cool, damp blanket, telling you that the rest of the world has faded away, and for now, only this quiet moment exists. Travel now in your mind to the high mountains of the tropics, to the ecosystems known as cloud forests. Here, the mountains are so high that they sit permanently inside the layer of clouds. In these forests, the air is constantly saturated with moisture. Because of this, the trees are not just covered in bark, they are covered in layers upon layers of other plants. These are the epiphytes, plants that grow upon other plants, which cover every available inch of branch and trunk, creating a hanging garden that defies gravity. Among these epiphytes are the bromeliads, plants that have evolved a clever way to create their own water source high above the ground. Their leaves grow in a tight rosette, overlapping at the base to form a watertight cup or tank. This tank catches the falling leaves, the bird droppings, and most importantly, the dripping mist. It creates a personal pond suspended 50 feet in the air. These tiny pools become entire ecosystems, hosting insects, frogs, and salamanders that may spend their whole lives without ever touching the ground. Visualizing these sky ponds offers a sense of abundance in unexpected places. The bromeliad does not have access to the groundwater, so it builds its own reservoir. It holds a cup of water up to the sky, patiently waiting for it to be filled by the passing clouds. It teaches us the art of self-containment. We too can create reservoirs of peace within ourselves. We can cup our hands, metaphorically speaking, and catch the small moments of joy and rest that drift through our days, storing them for a time of thirst. We can carry our own source of refreshment with us, independent of the ground below. Also clinging to these misty branches are the orchids, the aristocrats of the plant world. Many tropical orchids are epiphytes that have abandoned the soil entirely. Their roots do not dig into the earth. They dangle in the empty air. These aerial roots are covered in a spongy white tissue called velamen, which is specifically designed to absorb moisture. When the cloud mist rolls in, the white roots turn green as they soak up the water, drinking the fog like a sponge. There is something incredibly freeing about the life of an air plant. It has no heavy attachment to the ground. It is not weighed down by the mud. It lives in the ventilation of the forest, catching the breeze, suspended in a state of permanent levitation. It obtains everything it needs: water, nutrients, light, from the flow of the atmosphere around it. Imagine yourself as an air plant, untethered and weightless. You are floating in a sea of white mist. You are supported by the strong branch of the universe, but you are not bound. You are free to simply hang there, breathing in the cool, moist air, existing on the lightness of being. In the deserts of Chile and Peru, where rain almost never falls, there live vast colonies of tillandsia, a type of air plant that grows directly on the sand or on rocks. The fuzz is actually a coating of microscopic scales called trichomes. These scales act like tiny mirrors to reflect the harsh sun, but their true purpose is to trap the fog that rolls in from the ocean. When the fog arrives, the scales lift up to let the water in. When the air is dry, they lie flat to seal the moisture inside. This is a survival strategy based on extreme sensitivity. The plant is tuned to the subtle shifts in the air. It waits for the ghost of the ocean to drift inland. It survives in a place that looks barren to us because it knows how to harvest the invisible. It reminds us that even in the driest times of our lives, when we feel like we are in a desert, there is still nourishment to be found if we are sensitive enough to catch it. There is always a hidden source of water, a subtle grace that arrives quietly, like fog in the night. The soundscape of a cloud forest is distinct from any other place on Earth. Because the air is so dense with water vapor, sound travels differently. It is dampened, muffled, and intimate. The drops of water falling from leaf to leaf create a constant soft percussion, a liquid music that never stops. Plip, plop, shh. It is the sound of a library or a nursery. The heavy moss that covers everything absorbs the sharp frequencies, leaving only the bass notes of the wind and the soft treble of the water. Let this sound wash over you. It is a white noise made of water and air. It screens out the distractions. It is a sonic curtain that separates you from the noise of civilization. In this damp green cathedral, your ears can rest. You do not need to listen for danger, because the fog hides you. You are cloaked in the mist, invisible to the world, safe in the soft, dripping heart of the mountain. There is a visual softness to the light in these forests that is physically soothing to the eyes. The glare of the sun is impossible here. The light is scattered by billions of water droplets, creating a shadowless, glowing environment. The greens of the ferns and the mosses seem to glow from within. This soft light signals the brain to reduce its vigilance. It is the light of twilight, of early morning, of sleepy afternoons. It is the lighting of the dream world. Imagine walking across a suspension bridge in a cloud forest. The bridge disappears into the mist ahead of you and behind you. You are suspended in the white void, surrounded by the tops of trees that emerge like islands from a sea of cloud. You are floating. The ground is far below, unseen and irrelevant. You are walking through the sky. There is no vertigo, only a sense of weightlessness. You are lighter than air, drifting with the clouds, moving slowly through the canopy of the drinking trees. The temperature in these misty realms is cool and stable. It is not the freezing cold of the snow, but the refreshing cool of a cellar or a cave. It is a temperature that slows down the heartbeat. The plants here do not rush. The coolness slows their metabolism. They live long, slow lives, dripping with patience. As you lie in your bed, imagine this cool mist settling on your forehead, soothing away the heat of your thoughts. Imagine the damp, fresh air filling your lungs, cooling your chest, lowering your internal temperature to a state of hibernation. There is a symbiotic relationship between the mist and the forest that creates a self-sustaining cycle. The trees catch the mist, creating water that falls to the ground. This water evaporates, creating more mist, which the trees catch again. It is a closed loop of breath and water. The forest creates its own weather. It creates the conditions it needs to survive. This is a powerful metaphor for our own ability to create our emotional environment. Just as the redwoods comb the peace out of the fog, we can comb the peace out of our surroundings. We can choose to intercept the gentle moments, the quiet pauses, and let them drip down into our roots. We can create a microclimate of calm around us. Even if the world outside is dry and harsh, we have the power to be our own cloud forest, generating a cool, protective atmosphere that sustains us. As we linger in this chapter of mist, let us appreciate the beauty of things that are not clearly defined. In a world that demands clarity, sharp lines, and hard facts, the fog offers relief. It blurs the edges. It hides the details. It allows things to remain mysterious. In the fog, a tree can be a castle, a rock can be a sleeping bear. It is the realm of imagination. Sleep is like this mist. It is a place where the sharp edges of reality soften and blur. It is a place where we lose the clear definition of I and you, and merge with the vast white softness of the unconscious. You do not need to be afraid of this fading. It is just the fog rolling in. It is the gentle arrival of the cloud forest. You can let the details of your life disappear into the white. You can let the horizon fade. You are a redwood standing tall in the mist, drinking in the peace, letting the condensation of dreams gather on your leaves and drip, slowly, softly, into the deep, quiet soil of your sleep. We have traveled from the highest leaves drinking the mist to the deepest roots trading in the dark. Now, for the final chapter of our journey, we will shrink our focus down to the smallest, most condensed unit of life in the forest. We return to the beginning, to the tiny, hard, silent vessel that holds the future inside its shell. This is the story of the seed and the long, patient dream it dreams while buried in the earth. To understand the seed is to understand the ultimate act of faith, a belief in a tomorrow that has not yet arrived, held safely within a package no larger than a grain of sand. There is a biological miracle known as dormancy, which is the state of suspended animation that allows a seed to survive. A seed is not merely an object. It is a living plant that has paused its own life. It has dehydrated itself, slowed its metabolism to a near halt, and wrapped itself in a tough protective coat to wait out the winter, the drought, or the famine. This is not death, but a deep, calculated sleep. Inside that hard casing, the embryo is alive, breathing so slowly that it consumes almost no energy, waiting for the precise combination of water, warmth, and light to signal that it is safe to wake up. Let us visualize this state of suspended potential. Imagine the seed as a tiny sleeper in a capsule, a traveler traversing the ocean of time. It is perfectly self-contained. It has packed its own lunch in the form of the endosperm, a stash of starch and nutrients that will feed it when it first wakes up. It is wrapped in a waterproof jacket. It is lying in the cool, dark soil, completely safe from the wind and the cold. It is a master of patience. It does not worry about the passing of days or years. It simply rests, holding the blueprint of a giant tree within its microscopic heart, confident that its time will come. This image invites us to trust our own periods of dormancy. When we feel stuck or unproductive, we are often just like the seed, gathering our strength, protecting our potential, and waiting for the right season to unfold. There are seeds in this world that have slept for amounts of time that defy belief. In 2005, scientists successfully germinated a Judean date palm seed that was found in the ruins of Herod the Great's palace in Israel. That seed was 2,000 years old. It had been sitting in the dry dust since the time of the Roman Empire, silent and forgotten. But when it was given water and warmth, it woke up. It sent out a root, pushed up a green shoot, and began to grow as if no time had passed at all. It is now a healthy tree, a living messenger from the ancient world. This story of the ancient date palm is a testament to the durability of life. Imagine the silence of those 2,000 years. Empires rose and fell. Wars were fought, cities were built and destroyed, and all the while, that tiny seed lay in the dark, keeping its spark alive. It did not despair. It did not give up. It just waited. It teaches us that it is never too late to start growing. No matter how long you have been dormant, no matter how much time has passed since you last felt the sun, the potential for life is still there, preserved in the core of your being, ready to wake up the moment the conditions are right. The process of waking up begins with a phenomenon called imbibition, which is the passive drinking of water. The dry seed coat, which has been hard and impermeable, suddenly softens as it absorbs the moisture from the soil. The water rushes into the cells of the embryo, causing them to swell and expand. This swelling creates a tremendous internal pressure, enough to crack the hard shell of the seed from the inside out. It is the kiss of water that breaks the spell of sleep. Picture this moment of awakening in the dark. The cool water seeps through the walls of the seed, reaching the sleeping heart. The cells begin to hydrate, like a dry sponge turning soft and pliable. The chemical signals for growth are released. The seed coat, which was once a shield, now becomes a constraint that must be broken. And so, with a gentle hydraulic power, the seed bursts open. It is not a violent explosion, but a yielding, an opening of the door. It reminds us that often, what we need to grow is not force, but softness. We need to let the nourishment in, let ourselves be softened by the waters of emotion and rest, until we naturally outgrow the hard shells we have built around ourselves. The very first thing a seed does when it wakes up is not to reach for the sun, but to reach for the earth. Before it sends a shoot up, it sends a root down. This first root is called the radical. It emerges from the seed and dives immediately into the soil, anchoring the plant and beginning the search for water. The seed knows, with an innate wisdom, that it cannot rise until it is grounded. It must establish a foundation in the dark before it can survive the light. Visualizing this downward movement offers a profound lesson in stability. Imagine the tiny white root extending into the cool black earth. It feels its way between the grains of soil, gripping them, holding on. It is establishing its place in the world. It is saying, "I am here, I am staying." Only after this anchor is secure does the plant begin the work of building a stem. In our own lives, and especially in our sleep, we are doing the work of the radical. We are grounding ourselves. We are sinking our roots into the stability of our beds, our homes, and our bodies. There is a mystery to how the seed knows which way is up and which way is down, buried in the absolute darkness of the soil. This ability is called gravitropism. Specialized cells in the root tip contain tiny starch grains that act like weights. These grains settle at the bottom of the cell, pulled by gravity, telling the plant exactly where the center of the earth is. Even if you plant a seed upside down, the root will curve around and head for the depths, while the shoot will curl up to find the sky. It has an internal compass that never fails. This internal guidance system is a comfort to consider. The seed is never lost. Even in the pitch black, even without a map, it knows its direction. It trusts the pull of the earth. You too have an internal compass. Deep down, below the noise of your thoughts, you know which way is home, which way is towards health and rest. You can trust your instincts in the dark. You can close your eyes and let gravity tell you where you are. You are held by the planet, and your body knows exactly how to settle down into the deep, restorative direction of sleep. Some seeds require a trial by fire before they can sleep. In the pine forests of the north and the eucalyptus groves of the south, there are cones that are sealed shut with hard resin. They will not open for rain. They will not open on time. They will only open for fire. When a forest fire sweeps through, melting the resin with its intense heat, the cones finally pop open, releasing their seeds into the ash-covered ground. This is known as serotony. The fire clears the competition, enriches the soil with ash, and creates the perfect nursery for the new generation. This concept reframes the way we look at destruction and difficult times. The seed views the fire not as an end, but as a beginning. The heat that seems terrifying is actually the key that unlocks the future. The ash is not dirt, it is fertilizer. It reminds us that sometimes a clearing away of the old is necessary for the new to emerge. The difficulties we face during the day can be the fire that opens us up, burning away our pretenses, and leaving us ready to plant fresh seeds of hope in the quiet, fertile ground of the night. The soil itself, the bed in which the seed lies, is a living library of potential known as the soil seed bank. In every handful of healthy earth, there are hundreds, sometimes thousands, of seeds waiting. Some will sprout this year, some next year, some in 10 years. They are a backup plan for the forest, a savings account of life. If a tree falls and creates a gap in the canopy, the light hits the forest floor, and suddenly the sleeping bank activates. Flowers and saplings spring up from nowhere, filling the void. Imagine lying on a ground that is literally packed with dreams. Beneath you, in the soil, are millions of tiny lives waiting for their moment. The earth is never empty. It is always full of waiting. This implies that the world is inherently abundant. Even when things look barren on the surface, there is a richness underneath that is simply biding its time. You are part of this abundance. Your mind is a seed bank. You have ideas, memories, and dreams buried deep within you that are just waiting for a little light to spring into existence. You don't need to force them. They are there, safe in the soil of your subconscious, ready to grow when the time is right. There is a specific kind of darkness that the seed inhabits. The darkness of the womb, of the cave, of the deep ocean. It is a nurturing darkness. We often fear the dark because we cannot see. But for the seed, the darkness is a blanket. It is a protective layer that keeps the seed moist and cool. It shields the delicate embryo from the harsh UV rays of the sun until it is strong enough to bear them. The seed loves the dark. It does its most important work, germination, hidden from view. As you lie in your darkened room, you can reframe the darkness around you. It is not an emptiness. It is a soil. You are planted in the night. The darkness is wrapping around you to keep you safe, to keep you cool, to allow you to do the internal work of repair and growth that cannot happen in the bright light of day. You are germinating. Your mind is knitting together the thoughts of the day. Your body is repairing its cells. All of this happens because of the dark. Embrace it as the seed embraces the earth. Once the shoot begins to rise, it moves with a strength that is disproportionate to its size. A delicate seedling, soft and green, can push its way through hard, compacted soil and even crack through concrete. It does this not by striking hard blows, but by the relentless hydraulic pressure of growing cells. It pushes slowly, constantly, day and night, never stopping. It spirals as it grows, drilling its way up towards the light. This is the power of gentle persistence. The seedling does not have muscles. It has water pressure and time. It overcomes the obstacle by simply continuing to grow. It teaches us that we do not need to be hard to be strong. Soft things, like water, like plants, like kindness, like sleep, can overcome the hardest barriers if they are persistent. You can soften your way through your problems. You can rest your way to strength. Finally, let us consider the ultimate dream of the seed, the dream of the canopy. Inside the tiny acorn lies the vision of the massive oak. Inside the winged maple seed lies the shade of 100 summers. The seed carries the entire future within it, folded up like a map. It does not know exactly what the weather will be like, or exactly where its branches will go, but it carries the intent to become a tree. It surrenders to the process of becoming. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, think of yourself as a seed planted in the soft, welcoming bed of the universe. You are closing your hard outer shell, your eyes and turning inward. You are dropping your anchor, your breath, deep into the calm. You are holding within you the potential for a new day, a new version of yourself that will rise with the sun. But for now, You do not need to be a tree. You do not need to provide shade or fruit or wood. You only need to be a seed. You only need to sleep. The forest is quiet now. The leaves are sleeping. The roots are resting. The mist is settling, and deep in the earth, the seeds are dreaming their long, slow dreams of green. You are safe among them. The cycle is complete. The day is done. The soil is warm. The dream is waiting. Thank you for wandering through the quiet, green kingdoms of the earth with me tonight. We have traveled far, from the highest leaves drinking the mist and the cloud forests, to the deepest roots holding hands in the dark underground. We have synchronized our breathing with the silent exhale of the trees, and we have rested in the shade of the ancient watchers who have stood guard over history. We have seen that the world is not just a place of noise and haste, but a vast, living sanctuary of patience, where the most important things happen slowly and silently. If these calm, curious explorations help you unwind, I invite you to like or subscribe. It helps other sleepy souls find their way here too. And now, the time for learning is over. The time for thinking has passed. All the images of the redwoods, the moss, and the blooming flowers are beginning to soften around the edges, like a watercolor painting left out in the rain. You do not need to remember the scientific names or the biological processes. You do not need to hold on to the facts about photosynthesis or root pressure. Those are just the surface ripples. The water beneath is deep and still. You can let the information drift away, leaving behind only the feeling of the forest, the sense of being held, shaded, and supported by a life force much older and steadier than your own. You are no longer a visitor to nature. You are returning to it. As you lie there, feel the boundaries between you and the plant world dissolving. The carbon in your body is the same carbon that builds the trunk of the oak tree. The water in your cells is the same water that flows through the veins of the fern. The breath in your lungs is the gift of the grass. You are not separate from this web of life. You are a vital, breathing part of it. You fit perfectly into this world. You belong here, resting on the surface of the earth, held by gravity in a gentle, constant embrace. Let your mind accept the permission to stop. The plants do not strive at night, and neither should you. The flower closes its petals without guilt. The tree slows its sap without fear. They understand that rest is not a waste of time, but the very foundation of growth. You can trust this cycle. You can trust that while you sleep, the world will continue to turn, the air will continue to be cleaned, and the seeds will continue to dream. You are free to let go of the controls. The universe is a gardener that knows exactly how to tend to you. And right now, the only thing it asks you to do is to lie still and let the darkness nourish you. Visualize your bed becoming a soft patch of moss on a quiet forest floor. It is perfectly shaped to hold you. It cushions your weight, absorbing all the tension from your shoulders and your back. You are sinking deeper into this green softness, feeling grounded and heavy. Above you, the canopy of the night sky is spreading its branches, protecting you from the vastness of space. The stars are like distant fireflies caught in the leaves of the galaxy, watching over you with a cool, benevolent light. Listen to the silence of the room. It is not an empty silence. It is the rich, heavy silence of the soil. It is the silence of potential. In this quiet, your body is repairing itself, just as the forest repairs itself in the winter. Your thoughts are becoming slow and thick like honey, or like the resin of the pine tree, moving gradually, sealing up the worries of the day. There is nothing urgent here, There is no wind to shake the branches. There is only the stillness, the dark, and the peace. Allow your breathing to become the wind in the trees, soft, rhythmic, effortless. With every exhale, you are releasing a falling leaf, watching it drift slowly down to the ground. Let it go. Let the next one go. Watch them pile up softly, covering the floor of your mind in a blanket of rest. There is no need to sweep them away. Just let them fall. Let everything fall away until there is only the bare, simple trunk of your being, standing strong and silent in the night. The seed is safe in the earth. The root is deep in the ground. The bud is folded tight, and you are safe in your bed. You have done enough. You have grown enough for one day. Now is the time to be dormant. Now is the time to let the cool, refreshing waters of sleep wash over you, hydrating your spirit, preparing you for the morning that is still far, far away. Resting in the knowledge that mystery itself is a kind of lullaby. The secret life of plants is a song that has been sung for billions of years, a song of survival and grace. It is singing to you now, a vibration of peace that runs through the floorboards, through the mattress, and into your bones. It hums with the promise that life is resilient, that patience is rewarded, and that you are always, always supported. Close your eyes, rest, and dream of a quiet, radiant sea of green. I hope you sleep well and dream softly. Good night.